Hello my friends, it's Captain Cairo here, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is deadlifts. We're going to be doing a full deadlift session, starting with warm-up and a middle part and a cool down. So you got the full training here. You can either copy it exactly as it is here, or you can add or subtract anything that you like to do in your own deadlift sessions, and we'll get right into it. Now we all know the deadlift is one of the oldest exercises that ever existed. Probably dates back to the old Sumerians, when King Gilgamesh used to pick up stuff and put it back on the ground just to taunt the gods. So let's get right into it. And our first warm-up exercise, you probably already know that one, or you've seen it before, maybe in a yoga class or something. Yes, and this one is called cat-cow. So basically all we do is we go from a cat back to a cow back. Pretty simple, but it's a really good exercise to activate those lat muscles, lower back muscles, glute muscles, ab muscles, arm muscles, just all the muscles you can imagine except for our leg muscles. So this is the first exercise. I always like to do that in the beginning just to warm up and just to get everything going and activate all the small muscles. And coming up to our next exercise, now this one is a little bit easier. All you have to do is you lay your back on the ground, open your arms sideways, and you try to keep both shoulders on the ground. This is very important, so you get that little stretch in your lower back. You straighten out both legs, you lift one up and cross it over the other one, touching the ground, keeping both legs straight, bringing it back down again and changing legs. As you can see here, I try staying as straight as possible. I try keeping both of my shoulders on the ground as good as possible. And that's basically the whole of the exercise. This gives you a little stretch on your lower back, as I mentioned, and it also activates your lower back muscles, so it's a win-win. Next exercise, we're gonna do light kettlebell deadlifts. Pretty self-explanatory. My stance is pretty much in the middle, neither sumo nor conventional deadlift, just a little bit wider than shoulder width, having my feet looking outwards just slightly. Now I'm losing a low weight here because first off we're warming up, and second of all I'm pretty weak, so this is all I can manage. I think that's 18 kilograms, or for people who don't use the metric system, a small amount of pounds. Now when it comes to deadlifting sets, I used to do as many as there were Fast and Furious movies out, but since they went up to this year number 9, I thought I would throw my back out if I continued on this trend, so I changed it up a little bit. Now next up we have almost the same exercise. It's a kettlebell deadlift. This time we do it with one arm though, and we actually include activating our pectoral, our chest muscles, by pulling the weight to the side of the arm that we are not using. So basically you contract your chest muscle, pulling your arm inwards, going closer to your hip socket with the kettlebell and bringing it down again. As you can see, it's not that hard, especially if you use as low a weight as I do. And now we're in the deadlift. I've brought a couple of different perspectives just so you can see how impeccable my form is and how nobody does deadlifts like I do. Now I don't go for the conventional deadlift, and I've mentioned this before, because the risk to gain ratio in my opinion is not that well off, and that's why I stay with the semi-sumo deadlift. I don't take a very wide stance, but I do take a wider stance than the conventional deadlift. Sometimes I push out a single afterwards depending on how strong I feel. Now as you can see here, we upped the weight a little bit. I started out with 40 kilos, which is more in pounds than it is in kilos, and the second set I went up 10 kilos per side, putting on 20 kilos on each side. Now the bar itself is 18 as far as I can remember, 18 and a half or 20, so just add that on and be sure not to forget to calculate everything directly. And as you can see, one more set and we upped another 20 kilograms. Of course we can't do that indefinitely, so at some point we're gonna raise the weights a little bit less than we do in the beginning. Very important, if you're properly warmed up, you can start out with a higher weight. So now we've reached 100 kilograms, which is 225, I believe, in pounds. And my form is still impeccable, which is what I am known for, doing the best deadlifts of all. Now I've added the full list of exercises around minute 9, so if you don't have the time to watch all of it or just want to copy and paste, go straight to number 9, take all of those exercises and be sure to execute them correctly. So here we go, 120, and still very good form. Very important, keep your back as straight as possible. You're gonna see later what I mean when I show you how not to do it, and just pump them out like you do biceps curls. Alright, here we go, 140, gonna do 5 repetitions also. Now here you can see I'm starting to struggle a little bit with my back. It's still straight, but with the first repetition, if you've seen it, my back gave out just a couple of millimeters and I already felt it. I knew that the next repetition would be better. But still, here we got 150, and I only did a single for the 150 because, as you probably have seen and as I'm pointing out, my back gave out a little bit. Now, if you're only doing like 60 kilos and your back is giving out a little bit, that's a totally different thing. Once you've reached really high weights compared to your body weight, you should be really careful. If your back gives out a couple of millimeters, that's already too much in my opinion, and you should stop. But I always like to pump out a single after my 5 sets or maybe 6 sets of deadlifts. And after that we come to the cool down. The cool down is a light pushing and pulling exercise. So we push, if you have a sledge like that, you can push it forward and we pull it backward to activate those lats and the lower back again, and to activate those calves that I have none of. So this is why I actually do this exercise, to include some calf exercises too when I do deadlifts, just so I don't look like a fucking popsicle. And now you've seen half of this exercise before, which is the kettlebell deadlift, but we include overhead presses with it too. So we do one armed kettlebell deadlift including overhead press. Maybe you've seen this before in my full body exercise routine that I uploaded a week or two ago. It's one of my favorite exercises because it's a full body exercise, and it includes a deadlift and an overhead press, which are arguably two of my most favorite exercises of all time. Alright, and we do the same exercise this time with 2 arms, both kettlebells at the same time. Now if this sounds crazy to you, that's because it is. This is not a beginner's exercise at all, not even with the baby weight that I'm using. You have to be at least an advanced superhuman to do this, so be very careful not to throw out your bag. I'm using 6 whole kilograms pro arm here. As you can see, I'm not even struggling, so keep that in mind. I'm not the usual person you can compare yourself with, and this is why I use those massive weights. So this concludes our deadlift day. We have 4 warm-up exercises, we have the deadlift itself, we have a couple of cool down exercises going from hard to easy, so you have the full range of exercising here. As you can see, you can use that at your own leisure. I thank you guys for tuning in. If you had anything beneficial in this video, please like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't, tell me to fuck off in the comments, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace out, Captain Cairo.